It was there, and then it wasn't. A full-sized passenger jet, seen on radar 1 second, gone the next. No turn. No drop. No warning. Just a silent flicker, and then, absence. There are vanishings that shake the world. And then there are the ones that seem to slip between the cracks. The kind the world isn't ready to understand. If you're still here, curious minds like yours keep this investigation alive. Like this video to support the hunt for truth. Share it with someone who believes the skies still hide secrets. Subscribe and hit the bell, because we're only getting started. Flight GR-187 was a scheduled flight from Rio de Janeiro to Cape Town. A long haul, overnight. The aircraft was a twin-engine jetliner, recently serviced, piloted by 2 veterans with over 20,000 hours combined flight time. It took off at dusk. The skies were clear. No storms on the radar. 89 people on board. The flight progressed normally for the first 2 hours. Routine radio checks, steady altitude, clear weather reports. Passengers were settled in. Most asleep. Cabin crew preparing for the quiet stretch of night over the Atlantic. At 11:46 p.m., the plane checked in with a South Atlantic control station. Altitude, 33,000 feet. Speed, normal. Systems, all green. It was the last communication ever received. 5 minutes later, when ground control attempted to relay the next coordinate handoff, there was no response. That happens, sometimes. Planes miss a handoff. But this was different. Because when they looked at the radar feed, there was no blip. Flight GR-187 had vanished. Just blinked out. No descent. No off-course deviation. No explosion signature. No heat bloom. The transponder had gone dark. Instantly. The signal stopped mid-broadcast, as if something had severed the connection in the middle of the air. The radar wasn't jammed. It was clean. 1 second the plane was there, and the next second, it wasn't. Within hours, emergency protocols were activated. Multiple countries responded. Satellite imaging, military scans, ocean surveillance. But not a single trace was found. No debris. No oil slick. Not even an emergency beacon. The waters below were calm, undisturbed. What came next only deepened the mystery. A private shipping vessel, passing through that same corridor hours later, reported receiving an automated digital pulse on an emergency marine band. The message lasted less than 2 seconds. It wasn't a human voice. It was a digital burst, encrypted. But it originated from the same location where Flight GR-187 was last seen. When experts tried to trace the source, it had already vanished. And the signal contained a sequence that didn't match any known aircraft code. Instead, it resembled a distress beacon, but scrambled, warped, unreadable. Like something tried to send a message through a tunnel that wasn't meant to exist. Comment below if you've ever heard of something vanishing without leaving even one clue behind. What do you think? Mechanical failure? Government cover-up? Or are we looking at something we were never meant to witness? Because Flight GR-187 didn't crash. It didn't break apart. It didn't even fall. It just stopped being. Investigators combed the skies and sea for weeks. International teams, high-resolution satellites, sonar scans, heat sensors. The Atlantic was stripped apart layer by layer. And yet, there was nothing. It was as if the plane had taken off into another layer of reality. One not recorded. One not accounted for. But what happens when nothing is found, and then something is? 12 days after the disappearance, a cargo drone en route to Dakar picked up a strange reflection on its infrared camera. The signal was brief, just a second, and appeared as a heated mass hovering miles above the water. No aircraft were scheduled in that region. No weather balloons. No activity. And no structure beneath it. Just sky. The footage was confiscated. But someone leaked a still frame. It showed a mass. Blurry. Irregular. And beside it, what looked like the shape of a wing. One aviation blogger posted the image. Within hours, the post was removed. The account locked. A few days later, a fisherman in Angola claimed to have seen something burning through the clouds. Not falling. Not a meteor. But suspended, flickering, before it vanished without sound. Was it a remnant? A mirage? A ripple of heat from something phasing in and out? Shortly after that, families of the passengers began to receive anonymous messages. Cryptic. Untraceable. Some arrived by email. Others as handwritten notes. One simply read. They didn't crash. They crossed. Another said. Sound bends where they went. Naturally, authorities denied all of it. Hoaxes. Misinformation. Grief-fueled delusions. But one message stood out. It contained coordinates, deep in the ocean, far from any flight route. There was nothing there. But when analysts checked historical flight data, they found something eerie. Every 5 years, within the same 20-mile radius, another plane had disappeared. 1974, 1979. 1984, 1989. All different airlines. Different countries. Different times of day. But always the same stretch of air. It was never made public. Too coincidental, they said. Too inconclusive. But for some, it was enough. A retired radar technician, once stationed on a research vessel, came forward. Under a false name, he said the ship's instruments picked up a drop, a sudden dip in air pressure, seconds before Flight GR-187 vanished. But what he remembered most wasn't the pressure. It was the sound. He said it wasn't wind. It wasn't interference. It was a low tone, like something massive humming just outside human hearing. And then, silence. He'd never heard anything like it before. And he never heard it again. Until last year, when a military jet flying over the same region recorded an identical sound. The pilot didn't report it immediately. He couldn't explain what he felt. But his transcript, later leaked, included one final statement. It felt like space bent around me. If you're still watching, you already know this isn't just a story, it's a pattern. Like this video if you're following the threads. Share it with someone who doesn't accept easy answers. Subscribe and ring the bell, because silence is sometimes the loudest clue. And we're not done listening. The most disturbing piece of evidence came not from the air, but from the ground. 3 weeks after the vanishing of Flight GR-187, a weather station in Namibia captured something strange. Their skyward-facing observation camera, designed to track cloud formations and light changes, recorded a time-lapse. The sky remained mostly uneventful until precisely 2:14 a.m. At that exact frame, a sudden flash appeared high in the atmosphere. Not lightning. Not satellite reflection. A bright, expanding ring of light, silent, lasting less than 1 second. Frame by frame, something else emerged, a dark slit opening in the sky itself. It widened, then closed, as if something had passed through it. The footage was quickly turned over to meteorological authorities. The official report listed it as camera error. But the technician who reviewed it privately kept a copy. And when he analyzed the timestamps, they aligned perfectly with the exact moment Flight GR-187 vanished from radar. That's when another layer of the mystery surfaced. Several months before the flight, a defense contractor reportedly conducted classified high-frequency atmospheric tests in the South Atlantic region. The purpose? Unknown. But leaked emails mention terms like wave gate and EM compression windows. The tests were later denied, scrubbed from records. But insiders say one of those tests overlapped with the exact air corridor used by GR-187. Coincidence? Or did the aircraft enter a corridor of space altered, just enough to pull it from our reach? Some scientists have quietly suggested such distortions are possible. The Earth's magnetic field is not uniform. Certain regions behave unpredictably under intense electromagnetic pressure. Theoretical models predict the temporary warping of space, not sci-fi teleportation, but real, measurable folds. And if such a fold opened mid-flight? No plane is designed for that. It wouldn't crash. It wouldn't disintegrate. It would disconnect from everything. One chilling theory: GR-187 is still flying. Not here. Not gone. Just elsewhere. Trapped in a loop. Frozen in an altered frequency. A sky with no floor and no ceiling. Just infinite direction. A pilot who once flew that route told a podcast anonymously. There's a moment over that water. A kind of pressure. Like your ears want to pop, but they don't. The controls go soft. The air feels heavier. Like you're pushing through something that doesn't want to let you go. He never flew that path again. We may never know what really happened to GR-187. But one thing is certain, its story isn't finished. Every so often, an unexplained ping echoes from that region. Not strong. Not clear. But persistent. And deep in the data logs, buried behind layers of code, 3 characters occasionally appear. GR187. A call sign that should be silent. A flight that should be gone. But some vanishings don't end with wreckage. Some echo forever. If you made it to the end, you're one of us. The ones who keep watching when others turn away. Leave your theory below. We read every whisper, every possibility. And make sure you've subscribed and hit that bell. Because the next time something vanishes, you might be the first to hear it.